Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Finance Committee meeting of Thursday, September 25th at 7 p.m. It is 7:06. We'll call the meeting to order. I'm going to start by the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'd like to please rise. So thank you. Okay, good evening. Tonight we'll have public hearings, but before we start with the public hearing, we have a Finance Committee reserve transfer request. It is in the amount of $50,000 to come from our Finance Committee reserve, which is, I believe, $300,000, and it's being asked to be transferred to the 300th committee, so that they can start putting deposits and paying things for various sorts of events for next year's 300th celebration of our town's existence.
Madam Chair, I met with the 300th committee folks last week. They're doing a wonderful job of developing a robust program for the entire year. There are several items that require significant down payments. For instance, securing a hall for the main gala, securing a hall for the spring gala. The main gala will be in November. The spring gala will be in the spring. Music, caterers, all of them require fairly substantial down payments. The town meeting gave them $50,000 to work with, and they'll go through that very, very quickly with these deposits. They're also engaging in a very substantial fundraising effort, and we agreed to help them with that in terms of reaching out to businesses who want to support the town for the 300th. But I would strongly support this. They're now very focused. They've got a good plan. They're working harmoniously. They're now communicating with Biz on the management controls that we were asking for. And Biz is very comfortable with this request as well, knowing what it's for. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'm going to open up to questions from the committee. Anyone have any questions on this? Arnie?
We were just discussing that. This is a question for the chairman. How much money do we have left after we give them the $50,000?
It is $250,000 we have left in our reserve. We have a $300,000 reserve, and we haven't spent anything out of it, so this would be the first transfer, so we would have $250,000 left.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No other questions.
I have a question. Is any of our reserve earmarked for anything?
No.
Okay.
No, sorry. We don't tend to earmark our reserves for anything because it's generally a reserve. If it doesn't get used at all, it gets turned back to the town at the end of the year.
Madam Chair, Mark and I have met with the department heads to explain to them exactly what this fund is intended for. And for the newer Finance Committee members that may not yet be familiar with it, the two words are unfunded and unforeseen. That reserve, nobody should come to Mark and I and ask us for a reserve fund transfer unless something is unfunded, meaning it's unbudgeted, and unforeseen. If it doesn't meet those two standards, we'll never bring that request before you.
I appreciate that, and I suspect in this case, whether it was definitely unfunded, whether or not it was unforeseen, it's also a citizen group that's doing this as a volunteer. So we're going to give them some grace that we might not give to a regular town employee. Questions or comments on the finance, on the request for the transfer? Not hearing or seeing anyone that wants to speak, I would like a motion to recommend.
I make a motion to accept.
It would be a motion to approve a transfer from the Finance Committee reserve to the 300th Celebration Committee
I
in
make
the
a
amount of
motion.
$50,000.
I make a motion to approve a transfer from the Finance Committee to the 300 Committee for $50,000.
Second.
All right, so Heidi and Joel second it. Any more discussion on the motion? Okay, call for vote. All those in favor of the motion to transfer, say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
All right. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, it passed unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Now I'm going to reopen the public hearing that we started last night for the October 27th special town meeting. And we have several articles. Articles 10, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 are on the agenda for tonight. There's copies of the agenda if anyone really wants to see them in order. We will start with Article 10, which is repairs for ADA compliance to town buildings.
Madam Chair, we'll ask Jack and Trish to come before you. They have the details on the expenditures. I'll give you a kind of a macro overview. We, with a grant, retained the Collins Center to...
Work at the mic.
Yes. With a grant from the Commonwealth, we did a townwide study to determine what ADA projects needed to be done, where we were in compliance, where we were out of compliance. The report is very comprehensive, and it required over $350,000 in improvements. We decided that we were going to narrow that down to those that involve safety, not necessarily regulatory compliance, but safety, and try and get at those issues in this first year, and then we'll deal with the quote-unquote compliance issues that don't have a safety component at a future year. So what they'll present to you tonight in the columns you'll see on the submittal are those that have narrowed down the more dangerous situations. I will say that at the new community center, every inch of it has been reconstructed to be in compliance with ADA. So with that, I turn it over to Trish and Jack.
Thank you. If you all won't mind introducing yourselves, just so that everybody knows.
Sure. Go ahead, Charlotte.
So I'm Charlotte Mullen. I'm the chair of the Stoughton Disabilities Commission.
We're happy to have her here. She's in support of this article. I'm Trish Shropshire. I'm the IT director for the town side, but I also help with facilities.
I'm Jack Erickson. I'm the building commissioner for the town of Stoughton.
Thank you.
Okay.
I hope that worked.
What we have in front of us is we're asking for $206,000 to do repairs to be in ADA compliance for our town buildings. Like Mr. Coulter had said, the actual comprehensive report, we're not doing everything this year in that, but we had Jack and Paul Jaffoon go through every single building and highlight what would be the best to start with. So we've taken each location, we've gone through it, they've gone through it, and we have a comprehensive list of what we are going to do. I also took their report and edited out what we're not going to do. So this way here, everybody would have a list of what we are going to work on. And then we have a broken down sheet, the summary of costs for each location. Did you want to say anything? Jack?
Basically what we tried to do was picked the things that we needed right away. Entrance into buildings, there's no sense in fixing a malfunctioning changing table in a bathroom if we can't get you in the building. So the whole thing we tried was getting it so that we can get people in the buildings this year. The following year, we can address some of the other items.
Thank you. All right, for Finance Committee members, it is roughly, looks like page 66 or 65 in the backup material, if you're trying to find it. If you scrolling through it and you see a whole bunch of pictures of things, of buildings and parts of buildings. 66, thank you. All right, for the purposes of everybody watching who may not have access to these papers, could you explain what projects you are planning to cover under this request?
Sure. We have, as far as the locations are concerned, we're going to do recommendations to the Town Hall, Public Library, Animal Control, the Recreation Center, DPW, Council on Aging, Police Station, Fire Station 2, some items in the high school auditorium, Cedar Hill Golf Course, and Ames Pond.
Thank you. All right. What are you going to do at Town Hall?
Okay, so for Town Hall, which is actually, we're going to do the egress door down in the basement. We're going to do some fixing to the interior accessible routes and widen some doors. Raise the levels of the counters. I know, I'm sorry. I got to go through page by page.
Right.
Take care of signage so that we can make sure that that's all ADA compliant. The men's and women's single-user restrooms. Restrooms on the second floor, so restrooms in all of them. And that would be it for
Okay.
Town Hall. So basically, for every location, there's a different list of what we felt that we could make the most of this money.
No, I understand. And one of the reasons I'm asking you just to go through it is not everybody has the backup information either here or watching them, so that we just know what ideas, like what generally you're going to be doing. So you want to like fix the basement door at Town Hall and a
Yep.
couple of other things.
Yep, just so we can make sure that the doors are ADA compliant.
Okay.
That the bathrooms.
Let's see, the next is the library.
Yep, library. So we have some parking issues we're going to take care of. Drop box and the exterior stair, the railings, installing railings. So that would be the library. There's a K-cup dispenser that we're going to lower. Some of the work surfaces, tables.
Okay, I think we're talking about in the amount of $4,600 for the library
Yes, 4,600. So
and $25,600 for Town Hall.
Yep,
Okay.
Yeah.
For animal control, we have $12,650. So briefly, what's that?
yep, all right, so hold on one second here. That's mainly parking.
Okay.
10,000, yeah, 10,000 is parking, the parking lot, and then the walking, the entrances to enter in,
That makes sense.
and regrading, yeah.
Next would be the recreation center for $21,600.
Again, that's parking, the entrances, the exterior ramps, signage, bathrooms.
Okay, thank you. And then we have the DPW building for $9,350. Is that relatively the same bathrooms?
Yep, parking, entrance. There's a vestibule door that we need to put an automatic door opener on, and counter heights.
Okay. Next, council on aging for the amount of $31,350.
Parking lot, the walkways, and site amenities that need to be changed a little.
Thank you. The next one would be the police station in the amount of $26,400.
Sure. And then there was also bathrooms for council on aging. Again, parking, walkway accessibility, and the entry lobby has some issues, and the bathrooms,
Thank you. A lot of bathrooms.
a lot of bathrooms.
Fire Station 2 in the amount of $4,750.
Sure. Parking and then one of the counters.
Thank you.
That's a small amount. And
Fire
drinking
Station
fountain.
2 is the one down on
Central Street.
Central Street. Thank you.
1550, yep.
High School Auditorium in the amount of $5,700.
Yep, that was replace the podium, install some handrails, women's toilet, the restrooms, that was basically it.
Thank you. Cedar Hill Golf Course in the amount of $33,500.
Let's see, Ames Pond, let me see, just move this out of the way for a second. Parking, accessible route, the site amenities, exterior ramp, the pro shop needs some counters lowered, and over in the restaurant bar area, we need at least one accessible table, and the restrooms there.
Thank you. And then finally at Ames Pond.
Yep, Ames Pond is the parking, the walkway between parking and the entry gate, the display, and beach access.
Thank you. For the total of all of these recommended expenses are $206,000, and that's what the request in the article is.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up to questions from the members of the Finance Committee. Becca, then Heidi, and then Chet, and then Joanna.
Hello. I have three hopefully quick questions. Number one, are these in any particular order, or this is just how it was put into the backup?
It was how it was put into the backup. So what
Okay.
we'll do is, hopefully we get the article money, funding, and we'll set up the construction and do whatever we need to do to make it all happen.
If the article is approved at town meeting, if it goes forward and is approved at town meeting, you have the money, do you have to do what was in here, or if priorities change, in other words, like you realize that at the public library, you were only budgeted to do $4,600 worth of improvements, but you could get a twofer there, and they could do something else and mark it off the list. It just means that you wouldn't do something at the police station, which was based. Are you able to make those changes on the fly, or do you have to bring them back?
I'm not sure, because I would say that we need to do what we have listed just because it's the law, but we can also supplement with our operational budget if we can get a deal on something. Hello.
Can you just clarify that a little bit? I mean, what the Finance Committee is looking at is the wording in the article. The backup information is not what you vote on. It's just supplemental information. So I believe the wording of the article says ADA improvements to town buildings.
Okay.
So if you start going to the exact dollar per item, per building, it can cause confusion.
It'll likely be how the motion is written that we present at town meeting. because
Exactly.
The warrant article is not the motion. The motion has not yet really been written.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark. I'm
And that
sorry.
answers my third question, too. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry I misunderstood. But we'll also make sure that we do it priority, whatever item is what we deem priority.
Heidi?
I'm sorry if you already said this, but what's the difference between the Collins report recommendation and the facilities recommendation? If you answered that, I missed it.
So a lot of what we did was we went through the Collins report, and we said, okay, what can DPW do? And a lot of it had to do with, like, they can do painting, they can do certain paving. So we were like, okay, things that we can do in-house, we'll do in-house, as opposed to, like, what the Collins Center had. I mean, they had everything. So we had to go back and say, okay, we can't do everything. What can we do in-house, and what can we ask for?
Okay.
Thank you. I have a
And there
second
may be
question.
more things that are coming in another year.
I have a second question. You made a reference to the changing table in the women's bathroom. Are the changing tables only in the women's bathroom in our town?
No, they're in, well, at the high school, they're in both.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about other locations?
I'm not sure, they're not here. I haven't been to the rec center, but I don't believe we have those things in like the rec center and stuff like that.
Okay, that's like a huge pet peeve of mine, is that only the ladies are changing the diapers. There's a lot of times where there's dads or single guys who are also have that responsibility. So if we could make sure that that is included in that and we're not isolating it to one of the gender norms, that would be awesome.
Or perhaps we get an article for the Springtown meeting that makes sure we have changing tables in all bathrooms, not just the women's. All right, Chet?
Madam Chair, my questions are already answered. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jonna?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a couple of questions. Why is it that the high school that was just so recently built wouldn't be compliant?
That's a good question. I look at it as you have two different, we have an architectural drawings for the high school that was stamped by architects, and that's how it was built. And then a few years later, another architect comes in and says, well, I think it's this. So it's kind of like someone is trying to step on someone else's toes. That's the only way I can describe it. And the stuff they're asking for, I think if they spent more time looking at it, they would realize, okay, this isn't an accessible route. It doesn't need handrails, but we're leaving the handrails in based on ADA requirements. And I think that's really what it comes down to.
Just to kind of follow up on that, I know when they were designing the high school, I know like both Charlotte and I were talking about ADA needs for the buildings because that was an interest of both of ours. I think part of what happened here is the use is in the auditorium, so it was probably the least focused on in some extent from the people designing the building for educational purposes. And then also, right after the auditorium opened and the school opened, COVID happened and it wasn't used for a while, a couple of years. So I don't think people realized how it was, you know, like some of the issues at town meeting that people may have had that weren't really thought of at the time as much before, and they didn't become apparent till after the project would have been closed out because of nothing else with COVID and the auditorium wasn't used.
Thank you. I can appreciate that, but still, even if it wasn't being used during COVID, it still should have been very overt what was needed to make it compliant. And they're pretty new buildings, the library, the school, it just...
Some of the things that the Collins Center reached out here on, this is where they get nitpicky. They talk about the center of the toilets. A toilet has to be between 16 and 18 inches, and they're saying 3 toilets are at 18 and a half inches. So it gets down to, okay, do we relocate toilets for half an inch? So I think they went a little too far. An accessible route doesn't need a handrail, but we're talking about handrails for an accessible route. So those are the different things that, you know, that's what Collins Center is saying, but the architects that designed it properly, in my mind.
Thank you for that. And then I had another question. Okay, now it is, sorry. Just one more question. Who's going to be doing the work to fix this? Is it going to be the same people who are redoing the community center? Or did I miss something? Or who's going to be doing
Well,
the
we'll have
work?
to go out to bid, and there'll be
Is-
a bidding process.
Okay, well, I hope you're not going to consider those people since they screwed up, so we don't need more screw-ups to take care of. Thank you very much. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel?
And thank you. Question that the three of you probably won't be able to answer. The funding source for this is the Building Stabilization Fund, $350,000. And I'm trying to remember how much we had in that fund, and I tried to look it up and I couldn't find it. Do you guys happen to know how much is in the fund?
All right, hey boy, I gotta get the glasses on, apologize. Right. The Building Stabilization Fund, before these articles, had $6,078,257.20. Through this special town meeting, we're funding a total of $1.564,428.26. So the remaining balance will be $4,513,828.94.
Thank you. Could you do us a favor and could you send me that in an email and I'll forward to everyone afterwards so that if it's not, is it on that part of the page? It's on the second page of that. Thank you, so that we have it in multiple places for those of us that have problems with our executive functioning. Anybody else from the Finance Committee have, Dennis?
Thank you. Just wondering, what is the driving force behind the Collins report? Is this a want, or is this being out of compliance that we needed to do this?
So I can answer that. So in 1990, the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed, and there have been amendments to that and specify all the building codes along with the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board regulations. One of the mandates of the Americans with Disabilities Act is that municipalities have to undergo what's called a self-evaluation and transition plan. The last time the town of Stoughton did one was in 1995. So with the grant that we were able to get, the Collins Center was brought in, did the survey of all of our public spaces to see where we meet all of the building codes, where we don't meet the accessibility codes. And that's what's prompted where we are today. We found all of these deficiencies that I think, you know, if we did everything on the list, as Jack said, some of them are very minor. But if you're an individual with a disability, you know, if the paper towel holder in a bathroom is up at 5 feet and you can't reach it, or the soap dispenser, that's a big issue. Moving them is very easy and relatively inexpensive. And so that's what the Jack and the town officials have tried to do, is prioritize the projects that will be the most efficient up front, and then knowing that we do have some other things that will need to be done, but also looking forward at things like the train station and making sure that, okay, we're doing all of this work, putting all the money in, let's make sure that on the get-go, everything is compliant to the access codes.
Thank you. I have a question just to follow up on that. I imagine when they anticipated, when towns are required to do these self-surveys, I'm sure it's more frequently than once every 30 years, but what is the time period?
So there's no mandate on how often you have to do the self-evaluation plan, this Collins Center type of evaluation. It is a living document, so it's supposed to be reviewed regularly. And generally, most towns go with a lifespan of about 3 to 3.5 years.
Thank you. Any other question? Arnie?
Hi, thank you. I guess this question's for Mark. The new community center, do we know that we meet all ADA requirements on that? Okay. Thank you.
As somebody who was on the building committee for the high school and was on the building committee for the library and is on the building committee for the new elementary school, I can tell you that the high school and the library at the time they were designed and constructed, they met, as far as we could see, all the requirements for ADA that we could find out. And I agree with the building commissioner. It can be a little nitpicky. I've been in situations before where the slope, I think, lower and the it's a little picky here. I could see that, and I would like to say that the
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the Finance Committee?
Just a quick question. I mean, I want things to be compliant for people who have disabilities. I'm not against that. It's just frustrating that these things aren't done from the get-go, and we have to come back and ask for more money and fix them. That's my problem. And I'm just curious, I don't know how things work in regard to this, but isn't there a building inspector that comes, or some inspector or somebody that checks to make sure things are done before it's approved? I don't know. Isn't that a factor?
Yeah, so any drawings that come in through our office, I have to review them. You take a building like this building's old, and it needed to become ADA compliant. Well, there's certain things that you can do, but there's certain things that under ADA requirements says we're feasible. And there's certain things that they just don't become feasible, so you say, okay, what's the next best step? That's why we talked about having, getting push buttons on every door that we could, so that, because we know that every door is supposed to have 18 inches on either side of it for someone with a wheelchair to be able to move around. A lot of the doors in here don't have it, and what happens is, do we rebuild the building in order to get the doors where they're supposed to be? So the next step is, okay, well, we'll put push buttons so they can get in.
Okay, I get that, but I'm saying, like, the high school that was just built, wouldn't they know that it has to be X amount of inches wide? That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and
why are we fixing it afterwards? That's what I'm so.
Well, it's I mean, it's what we talked about. It was built to code when it was built, and it still is. If there's a toilet that's off by a half an inch, then we have to decide, do we want to move that toilet? I mean, people might think it's not a big deal to move a toilet, but it is a big deal to move a toilet, especially when it's in concrete. So those are the types of things that the Collins Center picked up on, which to me is like, we don't have to do this. Like if a Braille sign is at 48 inches and it's supposed to be at 42 inches, we move it. It's not a big deal. But moving a toilet's a big deal.
Okay, is that it? Thank you. All right, I'm going to open it up to members of the community. Cynthia?
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. When you're disabled, none of this is picky. 25% of Americans are living with a disability. I'm one of those lucky 25%. It bothers me when you go somewhere and they go, well, we're accessible. So I go in, nice and accessible. Then I have to use the bathroom. Oops, it's not. That's humiliating. Someone mentioned changing tables. I refuse to wear diapers so that I can go to certain buildings that aren't accessible to me as far as the bathroom goes. And saying that a school, well, there are disabled children in Stoughton. Not everyone who's disabled is some cranky old lady. it's not handicapped accessibility, it's universal accessibility. Ramps are great for people like me and people in wheelchairs, but what about people with strollers? Now, specifically the library. Now, I was on the original committee before there was a building committee, and everything was great. We had it perfect. You could park at the handicap parking spot, roll into the elevator, and use the library. I wish one of you could, and all of you could live the way I have to live. If I read it correctly, they're going to put better railings on the stairs. I can't do stairs. If you go by the library, that's not even a ramp. That's a walkway. It's twice as long, or 3 times as long, or 4 times as long as the stairs. For me, it's like a marathon. I used to go to the building committee meetings, and I kept saying, we need a railing, we need a railing. And finally, the then librarian said, we have enough extra money. We can put a railing in on one side. Now, does it make any sense to have a railing on one side? So I can walk up, fine. But when I want to leave, I have to walk backwards because there's only one railing. Also, the automatic door opener is at the top of the stairs. Well, isn't that nice? Those of us who are using the walkway have to walk again across the front of the building to reach the automatic door opener. Now, I kind of figure if you can use the stairs, maybe the automatic door opener should be closer to where the folks that have to use a ramp should be. Is there going to be a second railing on the walkway? Is the automatic door opener going to be moved so it's closer to the top of the railing instead of the top of the stairs? I wish, and there used to be a gentleman on the Commission on Disabilities named Roger, and he went around town in his wheelchair and made a list. And I made a list. I walk with a cane, I'm lucky. When we talk about railings, unfortunately, the ADA was written for folks who use wheelchairs. God bless them. I was in a wheelchair as a youngster. But the majority of people with disabilities in this country aren't in wheelchairs. And as you get older, many of us have a third leg. It's called a cane. And they come in all kinds of pretty colors, and they're really nice and cute and everything else, but they're also very functional. But if we can't feel welcome, I mean, I pay my taxes, and we have brand new buildings that slap me in the face and say, you aren't wanted here, cripple, stay away. I'm a town meeting rep. And that auditorium is a nightmare. And it must be a nightmare for any kid who happens to have a disability. Granted, most people with disabilities are older. But that's a public building. It wasn't meant to be used just from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Otherwise, why do we spend millions and millions of dollars? These places are meant for all of us. Universal accessibility. Now, I realize we can't rebuild Town Hall. We are going to fix the ramp in the front. If those of you have seen the ramp, the whole facade is just falling away. I was sitting there last night and a piece of it chunked off. And there's no lighting on it. There were lights when it was built, but those lights died a long time ago. So I'm in the dark, trying to stumble down a ramp after one of these meetings. Sometimes one of you helps me or my nephew helps me, but it's embarrassing and humiliating that public buildings that I have paid for through my taxes are not welcoming and accommodating. Whatever we can do is better than nothing. And I know that railings aren't in the ADA. They're recommended but not required. Well, I require them. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Anyone else from the community wish to speak on this article? Okay, not hearing or seeing anyone that wishes to speak, thank you presenting, and we will move on to our next article,
Thank you.
which will be Article 13, and then we have Article 14. And given that these two articles are related, I would like to entertain a motion to suspend our rules and take both of them up together. All right, we got to move, second by Jonna, all right? So we will consider both Articles 13 and 14. Give me a second. Oh, we need to vote on the motion to suspend the rules. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. I got distracted. Thank you. 131 for the backup material, and could we have all those in favor of the motion to suspend the rules? Aye. All those opposed? No one's abstaining. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Some of the information for this I may have sent out to everyone in an email. Actually, no, that was for something else. That was for the other article. Thank you. Thank you. TJ, Mark, if you all want to introduce yourselves for everyone.
Mark Tisdale, Town Engineer.
TJ Recupero on behalf of the School Building Committee. And Tim Bonfatti, so he doesn't have to reach and turn on his microphone, of Vertex, the owner's project manager.
Thank you. So you can begin.
Okay. Do you want me to start off?
Yeah, please.
All right. Good evening again, Mark Tisdale, Town Engineer. In front of you tonight is two articles back to back. We will not use this word in the legal world. It's called land swap, but essentially that's what this is. There is no such thing as a land swap. Towns do have to follow procurement laws. But essentially what is happening is with the South School Elementary, they have a driveway that goes into the property. Currently proposed.
This is the new building,
new
not
South
the
School.
current South.
The new South School property. They currently have a driveway. It looks like a road going into the property, proposed to cross a large wetland area. There's a large bridge proposed to get there. I think it's about 300 feet long. There's also an emergency access for the whole property that goes out to Haynes Road. That also crosses a large wetland area with another bridge. So the project was designed, planned that way, and everything was fine. They were able to make it work. They were very creative. They had good engineers. But then another option came our way, which was to acquire Fano Drive. Fano Drive is the right-of-way that's right next door to where the school property is. Also, some of you may remember it's called Line Lumber Road in some people's terminology, but right now it's named Fano Drive. A long story short, we were able to get an agreement together, MOU, with the property owner to swap, again, remember the word swap, it's not a legal term, a portion of our land that's in back of the existing South School with Fano Drive and 3 of the same property's owners' lots that abut Fano Drive. The total acreage for these lots, and let me just recap again. We're going to swap a portion of our land that's in back of the existing South School, not the new proposed one, with 3 lots and the Fano Drive right-of-way that abut the new South Elementary School property. The total acreage for our land that we're swapping, that we're conveying, to them is 8.83 acres, and what we're receiving is 7.92 acres. And on the surface, it's really just a number. Really, what it comes down to is what the benefits are for the entire project, because we're doing that. If you look at the benefits of not building two bridges, crossing the wetlands, and building one road next to an existing road, that's a huge benefit. I'll let the gentleman next to me get into the details of what that is. We're able to eliminate entire emergency access going to Haynes Road. We're able to eliminate two bridges crossing wetlands, and we're able to acquire a right-of-way with 3 lots on it that we're able to construct stormwater detention basins on for the drainage for the road. Now think about that. If you just built the road, where do you put the water? You have to have a spot to put the water. So we acquired 3 lots next to the road where we can put the detention basin. Like you see in normal subdivisions that you drive through these days, there's usually 10 house lots, and then you see one area where there's a detention basin. That's to take the water from the road and control it and treat it. So that's how that was planned out. Currently, the parcel that we're conveying to the property owner has an electric easement going right through the middle of it. There's electric lines cutting through the middle of it, and there's at least a couple acres of wetlands. So it's not all just pure buildable land. It's also a landlocked piece of land. So it's just stuck there in the middle of nothing. It abuts the existing South School property, but it has no frontage on any roadways anywhere. So it's a landlocked piece of land. So I think at that point, I mean, I'll let the consultants and TJ, our school chair committee chair, explain the details and the logistics, but from an engineering perspective, that's what I see as a huge benefit of this project with the reasons I just explained to you. So I'll hand it over to TJ and Tim.
Great, thank you, Mark. We handed out a very short PowerPoint, but it's in paper. And I'm going to run through this very quickly. First, I want to provide just a hair of context for what Mark started out saying. I think his words were, we had the opportunity to make a deal on Fano Drive and the other lands. It wasn't so simple, and I have to credit the people that did it, because the people on the school building committee, myself included, had tried for months to make a deal for that very same parcel. And it was a week after the school building vote when Mr. Coulter and Mark and I think Tim was there also, we had a meeting, and the tenor of the meeting was, how do we make, okay, we get to go forward, how do we make it a successful project? And one of the things that came up was, gee, it'd be great if we could do Fano Drive. We have almost no time to include it if we were going to do that. So a week or so later, Mark reached out. He and Tom met with the landowners, and sure enough, they were able to make a deal, something that, again, we tried months to do. But frankly, the school building committee didn't have any bargaining authority to do something like, as we say but shouldn't, swap land. And similar sized parcels, both fraught with certain development limitations, seemed to be a good deal for both parties. Having said that, in the presentation that Tim passed out, it's very short, it's 4 pages if you don't count the back and front. You look at the first page, it actually shows you what is approved now, and this is the default plan that if the conveyance and the acquisition aren't approved by town meeting, this is the plan that we go with. Because this is the plan that was approved, the schematic design that was approved with MSBA and that was contemplated in the appropriation. And one note on the appropriation, the change in the project design does not affect does not add any cost. And in fact, my hope is, and speaking only for myself, my hope is that it will allow us to recognize pretty decent savings. But you'll see what Mark was talking about on that page 2 of the presentation. We enter off of Park Street, And the big thing, I always had a big problem with this myself, is the emergency access to Haynes Road. Seemed to be so much pavement and a bridge just for the purposes of emergency access. This plan, Fano Drive, just eliminates that entirely, and emergency access will now be on the Sumner Street side. Half of Fano Drive won't be paved. It'll be compacted gravel, accessible by emergency vehicles only, which brings in another issue that we were able to resolve with this. Some of you are probably familiar with the Mass Environmental Protection Policy Act, MEPA, that has certain thresholds for impervious surface, for wetlands disturbance, and we thought that we were within those with this plan. I'm not sure we finished the evaluation because this plan actually came into play right when we were looking at that. We know now that we are well within those, or we have flexibility within those thresholds such that we don't have concerns, and that allows us to streamline our permitting timeline a little bit. And that was pretty significant for a project that has to stay on a rigid schedule that could have added up to, well, I don't even know what the MEPA process length is these days because the regulations are fairly new. I think they're 2 years old, and it was a question mark for us that we were able to resolve with this. So as you see, we were able to eliminate Haynes Road emergency access. We keep the ring road, but the new plan, which if you flip a page, you'll see, we keep the ring road surrounding the building. The geometry of it has changed slightly. We were able to limit the pavement a bit, and that shows up on the next page, which excuse me, that's 2 pages in. You can see, why don't we go there right now? You can see, if you flip to the 4th page, the portions of roadway that are highlighted in yellow on the page entitled Site Plan Benefits of Land Acquisition. I'll return to this page, but the portions of the plan where the road is highlighted in yellow, those are the sections that we've eliminated. We recaptured them in other areas. You'll see the orange portions are new, but otherwise we were able to limit a significant portion of pavement and impervious surface, and wetlands disturbance also. Because as Mark pointed out, the bridge off of Park Street was if you can picture it, the wetlands that affect that area, they run parallel to Park Street before they hit the entranceway. And it's a river. It's within a riparian area in that area. It crosses under, I think it is, Fano Drive, where it ceases to be a river, a perennial stream, I should say. Still a wetlands crossing, but our bridge would have had to span that vertically into the site 300 feet, as opposed to now we get to use Fano Drive, which is an existing way. It's still wetlands permitting, but it's an existing way under the Wetlands Protection Act that we're able to take the benefit of. It's better for environmental impact, certainly better for permitting, and I think it just makes a better site. If you look at compare the 2 sites, just a layman's eye, I think you could tell. Maybe I'm stretching this, but I think a layperson could look at the 2 plans and see that it seems more natural using Fano Drive. The benefit of Fano Drive also allows a little wider access because the property connects to Park Street 50 feet. The Fano Drive portion of it adds an additional 50 feet. So we actually double the amount of street frontage. Poor word for it because you're not going to see the school, but we double the amount of connection frontage on Park Street for the school site. Yeah, more flexibility for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Flipping back to, sorry if I'm bouncing around, but so what Mark described, this is the page entitled Site Plan Land Acquisition Steps. Several steps and several are still in motion. if you see, first of all, the deal had to be put in place. It was done so quickly, and it was a surprise, and it was a thankful surprise, frankly, because although it did add work to us in the summer where we would certainly be doing other things, it allows much more flexibility in the coming months. So first step is, of course, town meeting, and we do have to get this approved by MSBA, a revision to the plan. Don't anticipate there will be an issue with that, but it's still a step in the process. Then once town meeting hopefully approves both the acquisition and the conveyance, there will be an A&R plan, an approval. Some people refer to it as a Form A plan, but it's an approval not required plan endorsed by the planning board that creates the lot that the town is conveying out, that 8 point some odd acres. I have 8.66 in mind, but I'm not sure that's correct. It's 8 plus or minus acres. And then we go to transfers, record deeds, and move forward.
I'm going to open it up to any questions from the committee. All right, Mark, Chet, Jonna, Dennis, Joel.
Good evening. Thank you for your presentation. I have two questions. One is Haynes Road, is that still going to be a viable emergency exit?
Not with the acquisition of Fano Drive. We'll no longer be building a roadway for emergency access to Haynes.
And my second question is on Fano Drive, is that a one lane or is it going to be expanded to 2 lanes? I'm not familiar with it, so I'm asking.
It'll be 2 lanes, and it's more complicated because there'll be a portion that's only bus lanes. There's a portion that will be one-way vehicle traffic for drop-off, and then around the back of the building, it will be one-way vehicle traffic for kindergarten drop-off, and it all loops around back to the entrance straightaway, which will be 2 lanes.
Okay, but I'm maybe naive, but isn't that supposed to go all the way to Summer Street?
Well, so the layout of Fano Drive was approved back in the late 80s, early 90s, and it does connect all the way to Sumner Street. We're not paving all of that. We're paving up to the point where you see on the plan, if you're looking at, depending on what page. The limits of the school site will be as far as we're paving. It leaves the alternative to, at a future date, pave it all the way through, but for right now, it'll be emergency access only for the school project.
Okay, so I guess I have 3 questions, if you don't mind, Madam Chair. So on the site improvement plan, or the site development plan, there were cost $13 million or whatever it was. So is this going to be included in that? You know, paving and supporting all that?
Yeah, it's all inclusive. All the site work is all inclusive in the project.
Thank you very much, DJ. Appreciate it.
Mark?
Excuse me, Madam Chair? Paving, as far as we're paving, will be included in the project cost. From that point all the way to Sumner Street will be compacted gravel for emergency vehicles, so fire trucks and emergency vehicles can travel over it if they need to use that access.
Right, so eventually we're going to have to come back to town meeting to ask for funding for paving.
So, right.
Because you're not going to plow gravel.
If that's what the town wants in the future to make that a through road.
So right now, the plan is to, everyone will enter and exit on Park Street at the Fano Drive, and it'll get paved up to as far as it needs to for the school, but the emergency exit, it'll just continue as packed gravel to the Sumner Street where emergency people could access the road, but not the general public.
Right, and 90% of the time, emergency vehicles will be accessing from Park Street also.
Right, but just in case.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we ever want to pave the rest of it in the future, that'll be a future town meeting article. Thank you. Okay, Mark?
Why are we waiting for the future? Why won't we do it now? There's going to be people that are going to be walking to the school. They're going to be coming from Summer Street. They're going to be walking up a dirt road and no sidewalks, no nothing, just a gravel road that's not going to get plowed or anything in the wintertime. It's one of those things, why aren't we doing it right now, having it all the way through, it makes no sense. You're going to have parents drive all the way around to get to this school instead of right up Fano Drive.
It's a fair
And
question.
If we're giving up,
Right.
if we're giving up 8 acres so they can have use of Fano Drive on that end, we should be able to drive all the way straight through.
It's a fair question, and Tim can kick me under the table if I say something off base. 2 reasons in my mind. First of all is, I mentioned before, the MEPA thresholds that we talked about, where impervious surface for this project would trigger a longer permitting period and additional costs. Second is the cost itself related to paving that, which is not included in the project budget, and therefore would require a separate appropriation from town meeting.
Yeah, but just get the project done all at once. Why are we going to go, oh, let's just do part of it? And get the road done, get it fixed. Not gravel.
Yeah,
How is emergency, how are you going to plow the gravel in the winter?
It's very difficult.
For emergency access, how are you going to plow that?
It actually, I think, does get plowed.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Safely for kids to walk through there?
The school is encouraging the kids to walk through those
Well,
back. I mean, I'm sure people
They're gonna walk all
will.
the way around?
I think he's right that they will.
They will. It's going to be an access. If Haynes Road was built, that neighborhood's going to walk right through that.
So
With the bridges, it's the same thing with Fano Drive.
Well,
Then you're going to have people that are going to go down after the thing at night, go
Dr.
down
Bayetta
the
is
dirt
the
road
superintendent.
and hang
He'd
out.
like to answer some of this.
And that's where I'd go and hang out if I was a kid.
So, the building committee has no authority on the development of a road. That's a whole separate project, number one. Number two, the school department doesn't have responsibilities for parents allowing for their kids to go into the woods, regardless if it was Haynes, Sumner, or any other school. Parents have a responsibility to that, not the school department. So we will put up signs and all of that, that's just an emergency exit only and all of that, but then parents have to be parents.
What about things that happen after midnight on the dirt road? Is there going to be security for that? Is there a gate blocking that off? I don't mean to be defensive, but it's just,
It's great questions. The school, there's no school department in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that has a responsibility for people utilizing those public facilities after hours in the wrong way. We just don't.
Right.
If you go to a vocational school, sometimes you do see some type of a person who's going through the buildings because of just the way that those buildings are set up. But in traditional pre-K to 12 districts, you don't typically have a security force that's walking your buildings on a regular basis. And it's the frustrating part about this is the same thing that would have happened with if it had been the other exit, which is one of the concerns that the folks that lived on that street had, that quote, there'll be too many kids down there. It's going to be potentially the same thing, and it'll be police matter, it'll be parents having to parent. To me, that's what has to happen. That's not a responsibility of the rest of the community.
oh, my other question is who's putting in the pavement then for the front half of Fano Drive?
Is that included within the project?
Yes, yes.
But you guys just said you don't do roadways.
They will do the pathways because that's
No,
all
the
the
road,
driveway.
who's
The road-
paying for Fano Drive pavement?
It's not a road if you really think about it. If you go to the Dawes School or the Gibbons School or any of those, we all have entrance ways that are 2 ways, but they're not roads. They're really lots that have
This is a
entranceways.
road.
I'm sorry?
This is a road.
This is being converted as a entrance exit way for a school. It's not a typical road.
On our town maps right now, it is a road. Am I correct or am I wrong?
On the town's GIS, yes, it is. It's
So
never
it is a
been
road.
developed as a road. It was driven as a road when I was a kid, for sure. Never been fully developed as a road, and it wasn't accepted by the town as a road, as a public way, I should say. But it is called Fano Drive on the town assessor's map. You're right about that.
So you guys will be paving a town road with this project, and you said you can't pave the rest of the road because you don't pave roads.
Well, I don't think the school building committee has the authority to make decisions about paving the parts of the road that aren't relevant to the school project.
It
Is
is a
that
part of
what
the,
I'm-
it is irrelevant because it's an emergency access.
Right, so just to be clear, so this is the
So this is the Mass School Building Authority funded project, and our work has to be basically related to building the school, including emergency access. So we've talked with the emergency responders, with the fire and police, and they're okay with leaving that as emergency access the way it is now. Beyond that, there will, somebody asked the question, there will be a gate there that only they can activate and get through, but it is not intended as a regular passageway. And so we would have to do that, it would be beyond what would be necessary for the school, because the emergency responders can work with what we're leaving in place. And so, you know, that would have to be bid as a separate project and funded as a separate project.
Okay.
From the Mass School Building Authority.
Oh, sorry, Jonna.
Thank you. So I may have the same is this better? Yes. Okay. I have the same concerns that Mark did, and, but just getting off onto something else. We were told that there couldn't be any changes made to the building because the MSBA has certain issues that you can't make any changes. But are you saying, just for clarification, that changes for this are allowed, like for the land, it's okay to make changes, but for the actual building, it's not? Is that the legal way of I should look at this? Is that how it works?
I know exactly what you're referring to. We came before every committee and town meeting, and we said that the MSBA granted us an extraordinary extension and said to us at the time, we'll grant you an extension, but you cannot change the plan, which isn't to say that once we were granted that extension and funding was approved through a debt exclusion, we couldn't revise the plan. There were always going to be some sort of revisions, no matter how small, but was something this significant, we couldn't have changed until that extension from MSBA was, until the new vote and the extension was granted through April or so. So that's the comment I think you're referring to. We did say, I said, flat out said, we cannot change this plan, and that's because MSBA made that clear that if we were going forward with the extension they granted, we couldn't change it then. We still have to get MSBA approval for this, though.
But
Thank
just
you.
on that issue, the MSBA they've been brought along the whole way with this, so they're very much aware, and their approval is conditioned on town meeting approving it, but there won't be an issue with getting it approved. They've said this would be an improvement from what we were looking at.
And they're more likely to approve changes like this that benefit the site as opposed to a change where you decided to change the structure of the building and cut it in half.
Yeah, they wouldn't approve a change that changed the program of the education program, but this is a site which they've already told us they're
Right.
amenable to it.
Thank you. Does that, Dennis?
Yes, thank you. I have two questions. The first one is you said that there's changing in the bridges that are not being built, and so in the cost savings, is there a cost savings to the overall project from taking those out and doing the land swap?
I'll let Tim handle
Yeah,
this.
there is a cost savings because those bridges are very expensive, and there's less paving in general, as TJ pointed out. So we're in the process now of getting a cost update based on our design development set, which is about 50% of the design, and we expect to see a cost savings, but that process is underway right now.
And then the other question that I had is doing the swap, are we unlocking any, new commercial property or anything that's going to go onto the tax rolls, or are we taking anything off the tax rolls by doing the swap?
No, I want to be careful how I characterize the land that the parcel that we're granting is right now landlocked. Once it's carved out, it will be landlocked, but who we're conveying it to is useful to only that parcel. So it's developable in conjunction with the I don't know the business name, but Dad LLC is the landowner of that building on Precision Door and Window, if you can picture that. This is the land behind that. And as Mark pointed out, there's so that parcel is a total of 15 acres. We studied it pretty extensively. for a potential school site. Only about 7.5 of it was usable, well, not even, but 7.5 was the side before you hit the electric easement. And then there's, as Mark pointed out, there's about 2 or 3 acres of wetlands, riparian zone, that we'd have to stay away from also. So it has limitations anyway, but it's landlocked except to that Sumner Drive parcel. So, and for their part, the land that we're acquiring has pretty much the same issues, other than, you know, it does have access from Fano Drive if anybody builds Fano Drive, but it has the same wetlands issues and same riparian zone, and it seemed to be just the character of the land was fraught with the same sort of issues. And the other big issue for us with the school site and this 8-acre parcel of the 15 total is that from south to north, there's a grade change of about 50 feet. Goes from an elevation of about 250 to an elevation of about 270. So we were going to have to build a pretty significant retaining wall, and whoever else develops that back there will have to do the same. I don't want to go beyond, you know, I don't want to go outside of my lane, I should say, but we did look at it extensively, so I feel safe saying some of that. Anything I say wrong? That's you.
Oh. Heidi, sorry.
I'm sorry, somebody asking a question?
My understanding is that the side that's on Sumner is the side that's not going to get paved. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. Just want to give my 2 cents about that. I'm with you. I have gravel in my backyard with blacktop, and in the winter, well, in the spring, it sucks. You can't pave gravel, no matter how compacted it is. It's just not good. That being said, if there's an issue with drainage and all that, Mark, I'm going to go back to the recipe for the blacktop, because I know they make it more porous in some than not. But it brings me to where Pleasant Street turns into Turnpike on our way to Target from here, and the road is terrible. My understanding with that is that the laws have changed now, and if we did that road today, we wouldn't be able to do the road the way we did it then.
Which obviously
Are we going to run into that same thing on Fano Drive? And is there a way to be proactive about it so we don't have that horrible, bumpy, rutted road?
That's a great question. And it kind of goes to what I was actually speaking about last night a little bit, with how we have those engineering controls in place. So when they're actually going to, even though this is not, this actually goes to what Mark was saying too. This is actually, Fano Drive is called Fano Drive, but it's really a parcel of land that looks like a road, okay? We're going to build a driveway in the middle of that parcel of land that meets our subdivision control regulations, the standards, so that in the future, that can become a public roadway. It's not a public road, it will not be a public roadway the day it's built, but it's going to be built so that it can be accepted as a public roadway for the town. What that means is all the subbase has to be specifically designed by an engineer. There has to be borings through there all the way down, which probably did not happen where you're talking about because they built a road on peat moss. I mean, who does that, right? So I can guarantee you this will not be built on peat moss, although we will not be the inspecting engineers. We will be out there quite often making sure everything is done right. And the last thing I want to see is a sinking road. When you do something like this and you're involved in a project like this, you want to leave a fingerprint on the community with a positive mark. And maybe when I get to be 65, 70 years old, you know, be alarmed. Maybe I just won't be all there, but now I plan on being here for a long time. We're going to be out there a lot. We're going to want this to be done right. It might even be done a little better than it should be. So,
my second question is, what is the cost savings by not doing the entire road now versus if we did the entire pink paper road and turned it into a road?
yeah, we haven't estimated the paving from where the paving's ending to the end. I don't have those numbers. for you.
Okay, so don't have it like per square foot or whatever.
Right, but you'd have to calculate that length and the volume and all that. I just don't have it in front of me right now.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I think what we're paving is generally about just under 2/3 of the way. So when you look at Fano Drive, the paving that's included under this project completes about 2/3 of the length. The rest of the 1/3, and it might be a little off, but it's more than half, is going to be gravel.
Ian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. What is the traffic control mechanism going to be where Fenner Drive meets Park Street?
Well, we're in the middle of that discussion with the Mass Department of Transportation. Most likely, that's going to be a light that's activated during the peak morning and afternoon commutes. That'll allow for, there will also be on the northbound side, there will be a turning lane so the traffic can flow through. And then that light will activate in those peak times to allow for traffic to come in and out. And then during the rest of the time, it'll be I don't know if it's a flashing yellow or what that means, but it won't be activated, so that basically Park Street will run as a separate road, that won't require the need for any signalization.
And is that a cost that is included in the school
Yes,
budget?
yeah, that's
Okay.
in the budget.
Thank you.
Dennis, then Arnie, and then Joel.
Thank you again. Sorry, I was triggered another question. So on the 2/3 of the Fano Drive that's going to be paved and done really nicely and stuff like that, are we going to have to worry about the DAD LLC and whatever business that goes in there just using that and coming out that way rather than the egress on Sumner?
So currently, and again, I'm not going to speak in what the attorneys would say, but generally they have the right to pass and repass Fano Drive because they currently do today. So there's the lots that they have on Fano Drive on the area close to the Sumner Street in the Precision Door property. They currently use Fano Drive to access those properties now, which they will continue. And currently it is it's like gravel and broken pavement. Nothing will change there. Fano Drive will have a gate at the end, so you can't just pass through. So technically, once it's a public roadway, anybody can use that roadway. But until it's a public roadway, it would only be for school purposes, the part that we're paving.
So there'll be a gate. There will be a gate. Like I think Mark
Yep.
was asking. There'll be a gate at the end of the 2/3 of paving.
Yes, exactly. Yep. That easement I was talking about? It's essentially, we're paving almost up to that easement, and that's where the gate would be.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hi, I just got a quick question. This is wetlands, and I don't know if all you will remember this, but I think it was about 15 years ago, the perfect storm where everything was flooded around here. What sort of floodplain are we in with the school, and are we going to have to worry about flooding? And the other thing that I guess just comes to mind is we only got one entrance going out to Park Street. What happens if there's a natural disaster or something that blocks that street off? What are the plans?
Just to keep in mind that getting too detailed into the design of the plan, it's always had one access out to Park Street. So no one's really changing anything about the access. It's just might be the exact location out to Park Street, so it might be a little bit further down, so you don't have to have a bridge, but there was always going to be just one access where people would go in and out, and there would only be one additional emergency access. So the number of access points and entrances, that's not changing. It may be moving down the street 50 feet, but it's not changing at all. It was still going to be just one main entrance that everyone went in and out, and that's going to be some sort of light or some sort of traffic control measure there that people will design. So I think given the time and the other stuff that we have to do, can we just, I get your concern, and we don't want to make sure if you don't have a flood or anything, but that's kind of starting to get off the article itself, which is just the land swap. And I know we have a lot of like, what are we going to do with the land swap and the benefits of having the land swap to the project. But I think your question is starting to go beyond the benefits of the land swap to the project or the burdens, but just talking about an issue that's already, it's the same situation now before a land swap that it would be afterwards.
Thank you, but I agree with Mark's comments, and I think they're very valid.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
Madam Chair, just briefly to Arnie's point, we talked just the other day about scheduling, and I think October 16th is the date that we've targeted to have a virtual forum for town meeting members to ask those sorts of peripheral questions related to the school project, not necessarily land transfer questions, but free-for-all for questions exactly like that. So
thank you.
Log them down and bring them, I guess is my...
And Arnie, I mean, I share some of your same concerns. I think what I'm seeing is the question that we might all like is to have that as a public road and connect it all through to Sumner Street. The rest of it's going to have to be done through another means than this building project, at least right now, all right? That would have to be a separate project.
Thank you, I get it. I retract my question.
Joel?
It's my understanding in reading the actual article that we're identifying certain plots of land that will now be included within the project. Is that correct? And that means that when those pieces of land are included in the project, we can use money from the appropriation to make improvements. Is that correct?
I think that's what bond council and town council, yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And that's what I thought. The only other comment that I really have is that the entry from Park Street has always been a problem for me because it's so short. For those of you who know where the new fire station is, if you take a look at the entry to the fire station, it's about the same size as it was originally on this school plan. And now we've doubled the size, and this will make it much safer and much easier for traffic to go in and out. So I wholeheartedly believe this is something that should be done. Thank you.
Be possible depending upon how things are priced out as you get the actual designs. I know there's designs, but you're going to get the actual construction plans. If there's money left over, would that something that it could be done through the project? I mean, right now I know it's not planned, but if there was resources left over within the project, would this be something that we could consider? I think that's what the members of the committee are trying to ask.
We're just sort of whispering between, I think that would require an additional town meeting vote.
Okay.
For the...
Well, I think it would require to transfer the money, if there was savings, which we fully expect to try to bring about, I think the town meeting could appropriate or transfer that money without any additional appropriation to completing the road if it chose to do that. It's outside the scale of this project, but it would probably be within their right to do that.
You've got to be careful here.
I think we will have to discuss that particular issue at another time because that's not, I mean, we might all like to have that street completely paved and it may make sense from one part, from our point of view, but it may not be, it's not going to be something that's going to be able to be designed, we're not going to resolve that question today or even at this town meeting or in the next year. So I think that's something that we pay attention to and we focus right now on the actual benefits of the land swap. I know it's not the legal term for it, but it's the one that we understand, so we will use land swap. Any other questions from members of the committee? Any questions or comments from the public? Cynthia, and then Dr. Bayetta.
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. The first is a comment. You folks will be appearing before Municipal Operations on Monday to discuss the same articles. I'd appreciate it if you'd bring about 20 copies of whatever it is you gave to the Finance Committee for my members and the audience. It's, I mean, there's nothing for me to refer to. As regards a previous comment on gravel, the only thing on my property is gravel roads. There's 5 of them. Fire engines, ambulances, police cars, tractors, utility vehicles have never had an issue. It depends on how the gravel is laid and how it's compacted. Thank you.
Joe?
So just a couple of things that I think are really important. The only headache that I have is some type of a security safety issue in a building. I pushed when I got here, and it was already in works, that we had to have some type of secondary exit for the purposes of an emergency. That was the discussion from day one. That's how Haynes Road came about. That's how this one came about. There were a lot of intentions early on outside the scope of this project about Fano Drive going from Park to Sumner. There were. This is before I actually arrived as superintendent 3 years ago. But within the scope of the building committee, we are not street commissioners. So that's part number one. It's a whole different project to turn it into a street. That's going to take a lot longer as well. The other part that's really important is in terms of trying to make this work is that we heard, why not an emergency exit on Fano Drive? That's a direct quote from members of this committee. And we said, because we couldn't come to an agreement with the owners. I met with the spoke with the owners. I know TJ did as well. I did not have the ability to do any type of, quote, a land swap. I don't have that authority. I could only do money. That's all I could do. It was then through Mark's work, Tom's work, TJ's work, and others that this started to come across. So if we could just focus on the intent of what we're trying to do. There's no financial change of money, if you will. You know, you're not voting take $100,000 for here for $200,000 from there as a FinCom. And quite honestly, tonight I felt like I was at a planning board meeting because some of the questions that are outside the scope. Because the intent of a building committee, and I don't know any building committee in all the years I've been in public education through the MSBA that's also been involved with building a road, because it's outside the scope of a building committee. It can happen, I'm sure, but it's outside the scope. So what we heard was, why not Fano Drive? We were then able to cut the deal to make that happen. And now we're eliminating the second part that we would hear all the time, which is the bridges. Those are gone. Third part, the real negative commentary coming out of the folks on Haynes, who did not want it to be a secondary exit. When we take Fano out, you're going into, quote, a residential area, but not in the same way that if you were going on to Haynes. It's very different because you've got the glass company right there, a couple of other a religious place there, and so on. There are neighbors across the street, so I'm not trying to diminish that. Because you could also think that if that was a road, this place would be packed right now with people on Sumner Street saying, I don't want it to go through. So the intent of the article in this, quote, land swap is solely for the emergency response. It's for nothing else within the article. Thank you.
Mark?
Yeah, but as a committee and as a town resident, I want to know what the future plans are and what is going to happen and what money is going to be spent where, and that's what we're supposed to do. And if we're putting in an access road and then, we're going to have to build the road later down the road, like it's money that we need to think of. Is what you're doing just a little side, and then we're going to waste more money to put in the rest of the road and rip up this part of the road? Why not put in the road at one time? I know it's out of scope, and I'm sorry, but it's not out of scope because it's part of the road. They're putting in the gravel, so we can discuss putting in tar. It's not. Yeah. You're putting in the gravel there, so we can discuss putting in other options.
I'm just going to ask to make sure that, I had no problem with the discussion about the gravel and understanding all of the things. If I thought it was not appropriate, I wouldn't have let the
But
discussion
if
go
we're
in.
spending the money to put gravel in,
Right.
what's the option on how much more is it
So
to put in
I,
tar? It's a novel question.
I understand. I think there are several issues involved. I had no problem with the discussion and with the questions, and despite what the superintendent may think, I thought it was entirely appropriate. I am also going to ask at this point, we are not going to resolve anything to do with Faneuil Drive becoming a street full all the way through from Park to Sumner tonight. It's, so at this point, given the other articles and the business that we have to do, I'm going to ask that we move on unless there are any
So we're basically gonna
questions.
kick the can down the road like we do with everything else on it. Thanks.
All right, because we can't make it a street. No, it's not, and the people that are proposing this article cannot make Faneuil Drive a street. I think if we'd like to make that a street, we have to start with the street commissioners, who are the Board of Selectmen, or the Select Board. So we could discuss that, but we're not going to have anything if we don't even do the land swap. So we've talked about the land swap. We have the good parts, the bad parts, what we think should happen afterwards can be a discussion that I'm sure the town manager can share with the select board, and we're all able to go and do so individually or as a group, but not now.
Gravel road, for emergency access, you have to make it a road,
Okay.
correct or not?
Well, first of all, we have to get the property. So why don't we focus right now, given that it's 8:37, that we need to, like, at least for the purposes of this hearing right now, we're going to talk about, we've talked about the road enough. I understand, I share many of your same concerns. However, at this point, are there any other comments or questions from anybody regarding the swap? Not about the drive, not about the gravel, not about the road or the exit or entrance, just about the land swap. Thank you. Having said that, we will move on. Actually, I am going to take a 2-minute recess, and then we will move on to the next articles.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to your members.
hopefully. I'd like to get back to business. So if we could take a minute, find our seats. If you need to run quick. Okay, thank you. Now back in session. I keep trying to press the button to make sure it's on, and I keep turning it on and off. Thank you. We are now on to Article 16, the purchase of 30 Porter Street property for town parking. For those of you that don't know where 30 Porter Street is, it's the property that's right next to the town hall that was a house that was abandoned that is now just no house. That's a demolished house and dirt.
Correct. All right, Mark Tisdale, Town Engineer. I'll lead this article. Correct, Carolyn. If you were Tom, you'd point this way, but it's actually it's in I wish I was lying, but it's right over here. The parcel next door to us. Just a little bit of history to this, which many of you probably remember, but just to recap the history. An article just like this was presented at the town meeting in 2023. The value of the article was $440,000 at that time, and it encompassed two parts. It was $391,000 appraised value, and then there was about $50,000 or so in the article to demo the building that was on the property that is no longer there. On a high level, some of the issues that I feel were an issue, that's just my opinion, that might have caused problems with that article were the building being on the property. We all saw the building. It was a horrible-looking building, really past its good old days, and it needed to be taken down, and we felt that that shouldn't be our cost, and now the building is down. Also, there were some people tying the police station expansion and the needs for parking for that to that property, but we just didn't have the police station feasibility completed, although you could infer, right? I mean, I could see some people why they would think that we wouldn't have enough parking if you look at the space out there, but now we have a feasibility study completed that results in a building that is designed for the future, but the parking lot is designed for today's standards because they didn't have enough room. They do need about another 15 to 20 parking spaces. We had a meeting in that room a couple of weeks ago, and that was right out of the police chief's mouth. I'm sorry, deputy police chief's mouth. Also, and again, these are my opinions, you know, for what they're worth. The third part was we were going to tie it into a town hall parking plan that we said was great and all that, and it looked good on paper. What we actually didn't have a full design of that parking plan yet, nor did we have an article at town meeting that funded that parking plan. Now we have that. At last town meeting, we got the town hall parking plan funded at town meeting for $1.2 million. Went through that whole proposal. So now we know exactly how that parcel of land would tie into our project here to that kind of accuracy, because we have the whole thing surveyed and analyzed. The site consists of about 3,100 square feet of land, so it's not a big parcel of land. It's relatively small. The area right now is pretty much gravelled. It's mostly gravelled and it's zoned commercial. It abuts town hall, as we already mentioned. By acquiring that piece of property, now in your backup, I'm not sure what page it's on, but we did a plan through our engineering department. This proved to you what we could get for additional parking spaces, which would be the benefit to us, since we're literally going to go out to bid. We were going to go out to bid with the town hall project this fall, but this opportunity came, so we delayed it until special town meeting happens. We'll now be going out to bid January or February for a spring project for town hall construction. We looked at that property very closely, and it results in an additional 18 parking spaces that we can get, which is a huge amount of parking. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a massive amount of parking spaces. If you think about how many parking spaces are around town hall right now, there's not many.
excuse me, for hearings, when you're trying to come Thursday nights for hearings and town hall's still open for business, we'll notice the parking.
If you look at the plan, it looks like this. If it's in your backup, it's a one-page plan. Kind of looks like.
It's at 166.
Yep. So the part that's highlighted in red or shaded is the parcel. If you look at that specific parcel, you get about 12 parking spaces on that. But because we're acquiring that parcel and it abuts the town hall project, we're able to look at the two parcels together, which makes a more efficient parking plan, which results in 18 more parking spaces than we had before. Think about it. We had a driveway coming out roughly where it is now. That driveway now can move into the abutting property. So it moves further down. You can get more parking spaces on the street. Right? You move the driveway down, you get another parking space or two there. You're able to line parking spaces. Think about our back parking lot over there. You can literally line parking spaces along that whole property line facing that new restaurant over there. So you can get all those parking spaces. And you also get, because we're moving the driveway that way, we have more parking spaces in the front. We can get more parking spaces in the front because the driveway is moving that way. I'm talking about the inside of Town Hall, not the street parking. So it really gets you a lot of extra parking. Not that it's a huge deal because the plan was solid before this from a grading perspective, but because we're moving the driveway further into the other property, we're also able to flatten the grade along the building because we have a longer distance for the same elevation change. So that, to me, it's more of an engineer benefit than anything, but.
Okay. I know you could go on about all the grading and engineering
I'm
stuff,
not gonna go into it. I know you'll cut me off if I keep on doing that. So essentially, that's what we got. The benefits, 18 parking spaces. We don't have the appraisal in. We have an appraisal underway right now. I don't have a cost associated with this right now.
I'm going to
have it.
that's what I want to speak. We don't have a cost to this article yet. We do not have the appraisal. And is there any sort of purchase and sale or agreement about the property? Or is it just, I know we don't have the appraisal, but is the purchase and sale dependent upon the appraisal? Is there some sort of agreement in place? Tentative, of course, to.
So right now, the most proper thing in the world is to do an appraisal, right? I mean, we can't just throw a number at a dartboard. We want to get the appraisal, and in my mind, we've done that with all these other properties we buy. We buy it for the appraised value. Now, if there's a property next to us that's more valuable to us than anybody else, maybe it's a little bit of a wiggle room, but generally you're in that ballpark. But the appraisal is going to be our starting point for negotiations with the person next door.
I just wanted to make sure I understood where we were in the process. So what is going to happen is we know, as yesterday, the town manager mentioned that the collective bargaining agreement for the Public Works Union has been settled, but not ratified, so it was not approved by both parties, so it was not yet ready to come before us, but he would like to bring it before a town meeting. And so what we are going to do for that article and this article, we are going to, when we close the public hearing tonight, we will close it all but for those two articles, and we will continue it into 2 weeks from yesterday, Wednesday, October 8th. And at that point, we will come back, we'll continue the public hearing on those two articles, and we will make decisions and votes at that point. If for some reason there's not enough documentation, then we vote not to recommend and it does not go forward from there. All right, we're not going to have finance committee meetings like 30 minutes before the town meeting. But we do want to give, these things have moved quickly. We do want to give people time to get the information before us. I mean, the special town meeting calendar has been very tight, so we understand that. So that's already set. So when we entertain the motion to close the public hearing, it's going to exempt those two articles, which I believe is Article 16 and Article 5. All right, and if you can remember that for me, Mark, when we have the actual motion. So at this point, I'm going to ask, we heard about it, we're going to continue we're going to continue this hearing unless, there's really not much for us to discuss without an appraisal. I think most of us are just glad that the abandoned house is gone. So we don't need a motion right now. When we close the public hearing, we will continue for these two articles and close it out for everything else. No, did we do a motion? I don't think we did a motion to table Article 5. We just moved on. All right. Well, we'll do whatever. Yep.
I would just like to make a suggestion that you not use the same appraiser who appraised that building when it was still standing at over $500,000 or whatever crazy number that dilapidated building was estimated at.
Well, that's a very good point, and a point noted and understood, and I actually had the same concern, so we did not take that route. Yeah.
Dennis?
I can ask a regular question, yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to spend a lot of time discussing this, but if you have a general question.
Yeah, I have two general questions, thank you. Is the property marketed currently?
No,
So it's not for
not
sale?
that I'm aware of.
Are we concerned that we're taking a commercial property? I know it's not large, but are we concerned that we're taking commercial property off of the tax rolls by essentially taking it or buying it for parking spaces?
That would be one negative to this, taking a piece of commercial property off the market. But again, that commercial property was on the market for a number of years, not recently, but it was on the market for a number of years, did not sell. It's a small piece of property. It's very hard, to make that a marketable piece of property. We allow 5-story buildings, but if you think about
You couldn't get a 5-story building on that.
yes, exactly, and then parking and all that. So for those reasons is my gut feeling why it didn't sell. But yeah.
Madam Chair?
Chet, then Joel,
Oh, Joe.
then
You
Cynthia.
wanna go first, Joe? Go first.
Mark, just a couple of quick questions. There's a new restaurant that's opened where the old one was. Was that opening and operation of that restaurant contingent upon using that lot for parking?
Thank you for bringing that up. That's a really good point. Part of my presentation that, I'll prepare all these bullet points and then I don't look at them, so I miss a couple. But that was one of my bullet points was this was going to be strictly for town hall business only. Okay, it's town hall business only. The intent is not to have private businesses parking in it at all.
No, I understand that. If we buy it, it's for town hall.
Yep.
My question is that there's an operating license to do that restaurant as an operator, and I wanted to know if the operation of the restaurant was contingent on them having parking in the store.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And my other question is, why are we doing this at a special town meeting? Why aren't we waiting until the annual town meeting?
The opportunity recently came up, and we didn't want to miss the opportunity.
Okay, that's all.
I would also think if they want to add it into the parking project, they'd like to start construction sooner. And if we have to wait to the annual town meeting, that puts another 6 to 8 months.
Correct. That's the better response. yeah.
Chet?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, Joel stole my thunder because I'm thinking that they can use that area for after hours when town hall is closed for parking.
That would have to be a separate agreement. Our understanding, our proposal is that
This is like public parking, right?
no, this is going to be specifically for town hall business,
Just for town hall?
like the parking spaces in the front.
Yeah, I know
over
what
here.
you're talking about,
Yep.
yeah.
So, listen, at nighttime, on a weekend, if somebody parks there, it'll be up to our police department to see if they're going to ticket people, but
Okay, so there'll be no trespassing signs and no parking after hours.
we
type thing.
really want it to be for town hall business.
To Heidi's point, the property of the land was high with the house on it, but now it's going to be lower because you're just buying the land.
My gut tells me that, yeah. I think it's going to be lowered for sure, yeah. I think it should be substantial load, but I'm not an appraiser, so it's not really.
No. We don't have any appropriation. We have no figures, so it's a moot point, but I'm just pointing out. Yeah, I will. Yep.
When we
All right.
actually have them.
Okay, thank you.
Mark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On these spaces, are they going to be for town hall employees or like hour, 2-hour parking for business only?
They will be for town hall business. So
So the employees are still going to be in the employee lot, and these will be used for people coming into town hall to do business in town hall?
correct.
Because I just see that more, we create forwards and create forwards with our employee parking, and then,
Right now, employees have enough spaces to park, so this would be for town hall business.
okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from members or the public? Cynthia?
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. This article will be coming before municipal operations on Monday, so I'd appreciate 20 copies of whatever that map is. And also, across the street, it says public for postal customers only, and I know finance committee members that have parked there.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how effective, or should we even bother if someone's using the parking when it's not town hall, when town hall's not open. We want people to visit. Yeah.
Am I still going to keep my veteran spot?
I would hope so, but that, yeah. Any other questions? Okay, we will move on. These will be the two that we will table and continue at the end. Next is Article 17, accept donation of 5 parcels of land off of Mill Street.
Okay, Mark Tisdale, town engineer. Again, is exactly how the chair just referenced it. We had a proposal come by our desk about a donation of 5 parcels off Mill Street. The parcels' total area are approximately 5.1 acres, all 5 of them combined. There are a few benefits to us acquiring these parcels. We're not just going to take them so they sit there and whatnot. They're mostly wetlands and flood zones on these parcels, but they do abut Mill Street, right where that bad curve is. There's a horrible curve on Mill Street that you may be aware of. Yes. They're literally right where the curve is, and if you look at the maps that were provided, it gives you the ability to flatten it out. Now, it would be a very expensive project. I'm not saying it's a high priority right this moment, but gives us the ability for future planning to flatten out that curve. The other benefit is there's a major sewer trunk line that goes through that line. It's that main interceptor line in the whole town. Goes right along the property line of one of those lots. So that would give us the benefit of getting in there. We own a lot, maintenance of that line. It helps out with a lot of legal issues, things like that. So those are the 2 main benefits to accepting the donation. We do have taxes on those properties currently, and as of today, there's roughly about $5,000 in annual tax dollars that we collect on the 5 properties combined.
So by accepting this, we would lose the $5,000 a year, but we would gain the property and the potential to do something about the curve on Mill Street in the future, and we can access our sewer pipe.
Correct.
Mark, questions from members of the Finance Committee? Mark?
I actually work on Mill Street, and I drive one of the box trucks as a backup, and taking those curves kind of sucks because I have to go on the other side of the road. So I do like the improvement of straightening that. That would be great. But my question also is, the larger of the parcels, there is, I believe, a historical sign there for a historical area, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't believe that's on that piece of property. I believe it's in the property next to it. And there's nothing actually mapped. We've done some research on the GIS. There's no historical monuments map. There's no, we've also done environmental lookups for environmental issues with the property. There's been none of that. on the property. So there's certain areas where you can research that. And nothing's popping up through the state that there's a historical artifact or anything there.
All right, because I thought I swore on on the curve, there's a historical marker there.
There's,
You know, one of the
there's a
plaques.
bound. There's a concrete bound there that sometimes delineates the boundary of the road.
No, there's an actual, I know what Mark's talking about, but because of the way the road curves, I've never stopped to get out to look at it because I'm too afraid of getting hit by a car. But there is one of those historical markers. No idea what it says, but it is there. It's right at the curve. So whatever
I
is
think we're thinking
there.
two different things. I'll have to take a look
Yeah.
at what you're referring to, and I can get back to you on that. But
Yeah.
Yeah, the Historical Society put it in.
that's not what I was referring to. Mine was a concrete bound.
Right, there is a concrete mound on the other side of the stream.
Yep.
But, yeah, I don't know what that was for. I
Okay.
believe the mill was the other side. But yes, that was my question, is just to make
Okay.
sure that nothing historical or
Any
whatnot is there.
other questions from members of the committee? Jonna?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mark, I just was curious, are you planning on building more housing there?
Oh, no. No. These properties are essentially undevelopable. If you look, I've got maps in front of me that,
I don't see the map.
that I can forward to the board that you don't have, just for informational purposes, that they're just all wetlands and flood zones and streams and sewer easements. Yep.
Thank you. Any members from the community that would like to speak on this article? Seeing no one, we are going to move along to Article 18, Historic Foundation and Stonewall Preservation at Bird Street Conservation Area.
That's going to be Jerry. Jerry.
Which is, for those of you wanting to look, it's page 176 in our backup material. Thanks, Jerry. Could you introduce yourself?
Hi, Jerry McDonald, Chairman of the Conservation Commission. Good evening.
Good evening.
If you're ready, I'll just
Go right ahead.
All right. So this is an article that the Conservation Commission has put forth to clean up an area around a historic barn foundation on the Bird Street Conservation land. This project came about because over the years, the Historical Society, specifically Dwight McCarran, has led tours out there to this site. It's grown in terribly. It's very inaccessible. At one point in time, there was dumping of debris, brush, trash, etc. on this historic foundation. So we conceived this project to get in there and clean it up and clean up some of the stone walls that are in the vicinity of the Veterans Monument that's out there and the historic bird farm foundation. So that's what we're planning to do, and we got a unanimous vote from the CPC to move forward on this. They made some suggestions which we incorporated to it, so we're just looking for approval.
And so that people understand, the amount being asked is, what, 115,000? And it's coming from CPC funds?
Correct.
So, which, for those of you that aren't aware, CPC funds are under the control of the CPC committee, but they do require town meeting to vote to authorize any expenditures. And as I understand from the funding source, it looks like they will be asking to transfer within their budget to the capital from the historic section. The CPC has several sections within their budget. They have like a lot of it's unrestricted funds that they can use for certain purposes within the town, but then some of it's dedicated to historic and some of that is dedicated to, I believe, conservation. And so they're planning to transfer some from the historic to some, from capital, to capital from historic. That was what our notes were. Is that still the correct way that they're planning to fund it?
I believe so.
I know no one from the actual CPC is here. Tom?
Maybe Barry can answer that.
Tom, Barry, how could you explain how this is going to be funded?
You want to use the mic?
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry about that. This will be funded through the CPA Fund Historical Preservation Account.
So the money is in there, and we do not need to, it's just coming right from that account. So
Correct.
The funding source is the historic preservation account.
Correct.
Thank you. So whatever the price we said was, $115,000 from the CPC historic preservation account is where this funding source is. Joel?
You know you're going to be asked this question at town meeting. How much cash is in your fund right now?
I don't have the answer to that. We're still waiting for them to close out the books for the last fiscal
Could
year.
you give us some, is it more than $100?
Yes, it's more than $100.
Is it less than 40 million?
It is less than 40 million, and it's enough to cover this expense without sweating
You're
it.
going to get that question, so.
Yep.
Mark and Arnie?
Thank you. I know where this area is, and there's been some great improvements in that area for people with mobility issues to see the area, meaning the gravel parts, and it's pretty flat and level. When you're cleaning this out and about, are you going to be able to do something so people will be able to easily view the wall or whatnot? You know what I mean? Is there going to be like a separate trail to come back around to that?
Yep. Thanks, Mark, for that question. That actually came up at CPC, and we changed our plan and the budget a little bit to accommodate additional ADA, attempting at ADA compliance.
Right.
If you're out there right now, they recently added a parking area that's not quite open just yet, and an ADA path from the end of the parking lot to the Veterans Monument. So that's in place as part of the trail grant that was done a couple of years ago, where we did a lot of improvements out in the woods, a lot of water crossings, et cetera, were done and fixed, and that was one of the ones, the parking area that is still in development stage. But the ADA pathway extends from the parking to the monument.
Correct.
And it was suggested to continue that to the top of this foundation, which I estimate is about 150 feet, and it's relatively flat. So there is in this plan an extension of that ADA pathway straight into the third, what I call the third field.
Yep.
Out there, and then take a right and go right through a stone wall to this foundation.
Correct. Yeah.
We're proposing that whole area is going to get cleaned up if it's overgrown terribly, and then there will be some type of fence along the top of the foundation, because once it's cleared, it's about a 20-foot drop, maybe 15. So we want to put some type of, fencing there so rambunctious kids don't go running right off, or you. So we haven't quite decided on what that fence is going to be, but there is provisions in here for fence. There's provisions in here for, obviously, historic signage about the foundation, about the bird farm, which was what the Bird Street Conservation Land came to be back in the 1960s. Just so people know, Bird Street Conservation Land is about 800 acres, consists of about 400 acres at the Bird Street end that the town purchased with federal money back in the 60s, and another portion of it was about another 400 acres, which was donated by the C.W. Welch Preserve, or the Stoughton Fish and Game Club, They donated another 400 acres from there down to the eastern town line, basically. So that's a little history on it. Did that answer your question?
Yes,
Excellent.
very much. Thank you for looking out for that.
Arnie?
I retract my question.
Thank you. Any other committee members? Any members in the audience have any questions, comments? Cynthia?
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. When they get through there, I have some historic foundations and stone walls down at my farm, which is originally part of the Monk farm. So very historic, but of course it's not public land yet. And the worst drop on my property is an 8-foot one. So the kids will, well, they might need a parachute, but I'll be interested in finding what kind of fencing. There's one thing about children, they really can't be fenced out or in, but I'm glad you're considering it. I'm also pleased that you're making a real effort to include the members of the community that have mobility issues. Thank you.
Yep, I appreciate those comments. Those were comments that came up at the CPC meetings, and we, were able to, I think, hopefully easily accommodate that. We'll see how it goes when construction starts, but that's the plan.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Let's move on to our next article.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Jerry. Article 19, rescind authorized and unused borrowing.
I'll stay here for this one. I'm Barry Kaslev, the Program Administrator for the Community Preservation Committee.
Thank you.
Mark Tisdale, Assistant Town Manager.
If I could, this is a project that's coming to an end. This was money that was originally authorized by town meeting to be bonded. The project did not need it to be bonded, so we're rescinding it.
What is it for?
I'm sorry, this is for the Cape and Reynolds property.
Thank you. I couldn't find the information in the backup plan, so. What this means is we're canceling the ability to borrow under it. All right, any questions, comments? Okay, let's move along to Article 20.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, good evening. Joe Bida, Superintendent of Schools. Welcome to the new members of the Finance Committee, because I see some new faces.
Speak a little more closely into the mic, because you
Teacher
were
voice.
fading.
Before you tonight, we have our article request for the special town meeting. This request comes out of a situation at the Daw and Gibbons School in two parts. The first part is with the HVAC systems going on at the schools. You'll see from, I believe it's about page 405. You'll see that we're trying to enclose each of the three HVAC systems that are there for two reasons. Number one, for the purposes of protecting the systems, and number two, for the purposes of safety with students. And then number two, as part of this, is the enclosement of the playground at the Daw School. It remains our only unfenced playground, so we're trying to do that for a number of different reasons. Number one, wildlife. Number two, we do have students in specialized classrooms who having an enclosed area during a playground time is important to us. The students are getting faster and we're getting slower. So the total request on that is for $51,500.
So for those of you, if you're confused, I sent some of this information out. Dr. Bayetta sent it to me, I believe, Tuesday night, but I forgot to send it out to all of you until today. So I apologize, but that's, the estimates are there for the fencing, and the entire article is 51,500?
It'll be 51,500. Originally it was 64. We're going with the 51.5 solely because of the security issues that we're just not going to be able to get information on prior to. And as I said in the email, my apologies. We are having a very difficult time finding vendors to come forward to do work. For whatever reason, we don't know. We put out phone calls, numerous phone calls, because we have to under the procurement situation. Literally, we've received one so far, and it's the one before you.
From the fencing contractors?
From the fencing contractors. So just wanted to let you know that's the reason why it was so late coming into you as well.
Okay, no, that's, I appreciate that. And our proposed funding source is coming from, I'm trying to read it on here, from a couple of different projects, and then from 8,000 from building stabilization. Is that what's the proposed funding source? Transfer funds from a few?
I think at the end, that was for the 64th, so I think at the end it'll be all from old articles. But
from old
I
articles.
would defer that to Biz on the town side, because usually she's the one who does that for us.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Mark?
For that final amount and all that, will we know that by the 8th?
Yes.
Okay, we can add, I guess we will table this, we will continue this hearing as well until then, so that we need to, if we're going to vote, we need to be able to recommend
money.
amount
Yep.
and
We
a
would
funding
go,
source.
right, so I'll work with the town to get the funding source. At the end of the day, the 51.5 we believe is going to be the lowest, but we would have to go out anyways, because this is a prevailing wage contract.
No, I understand. So if we, but, we like to have, when I write the motion, we need to have a funding source and an amount, so we can add this one to the other two articles since we're coming back on the 8th, so that we can get that before.
I'll get that email out tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments that you would like to answer now? Yes. Dawn, go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is Dawn. Just to make it clear, I apologize. So it's 64, it's 51.5 now, but if you get another, like a fencing contractor, it might go back to 64?
No, right now we are requesting $51,500 only.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
I think there was some talk about security as well, but they weren't able to get all those bids in time, so that'll be a later day. Okay. Ian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the supplemental materials, there's a line item about closing out items. I see something about the vestibules. So is all the vestibule work complete?
That is correct. Just to let you know, the Finance Committee will be receiving a capital plan for us for the annual town meeting. I'm going to be publishing that with you. We're currently finalizing that. The bid's been closed. Folks are coming in, so you'll see an actually comprehensive capital
Thank
plan
you.
from the school department.
I'm sure that is much anticipated. Okay.
And a lot of money.
Are there any other questions from anyone in the audience? Most people have left by now. All right. At this point, I would like a couple of motions. I'd like to motion to, a motion to close the public hearing for all articles but Articles 5, 16, and 20.
So moved.
So, a motion from Heidi, seconded from Jonna. I'm going to call for a vote on that. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. All those opposed? Anyone want to abstain? Right, the vote was unanimous. Thank you. So at this point, the public hearing on all articles other than Articles 5, 16, and 20 are now over. For those of you watching, we will continue the public hearing on those three articles, Articles 5, 16, and 20, on Wednesday, October 8th at 7 p.m. here.
Can we run out of time somewhere along the line here?
It is tough, but given if it doesn't happen by October 8th, it's not going to happen for this town meeting.
That's what I was
All
asking
right.
the question.
It may or may not get into the book exactly. It may have to go out as supplementary based on that. But for those three articles, I mean, we will give them the courtesy of the 2 weeks.
On the 8th, we're going to have a public hearing.
On the 8th, we are going to have we will continue the public hearing on those three articles, and then we will take votes on those three articles. We are going to take votes on everything else right now,
Oh, okay.
Yes.
or at least as much as possible, so that we can get that book going. All right?
So, have we made the motion? We did, yes.
So we have the motion has been approved. We've closed the public hearing. Now we're going to open for discussion and votes on the articles that are closed. Just so that everybody understands, the motion I want to hear, I only want positive motions. So I want a motion to approve whatever the article is. We get a motion to approve, we get a motion a second. If you are in favor of the article, vote for the motion. If you are opposed to the article, vote against the motion. But that's how the motions are going to be framed. We're not going to worry about debating. Debating how we're going to word the motion. All right? I'd ask if you could, we start with there, and then if we want to amend or anything, we can talk about it then. But when we're doing these motions as well, we're going to need to be able to make sure we have a funding source specified. So we go back to Article 1 was the motion was on unpaid bills from the prior fiscal year. All right, that was from yesterday.
Okay.
And right, yeah, that's what we're gonna. Right. So for Article 1, the motion is to pay unpaid bills from the previous fiscal year, and the amount of that motion is
$16,389.10.
and we do not have a funding source on this sheet. Is it just coming from?
According to this sheet, it says fiscal year 26 operating budget.
Okay, thank you. Not on my. So may I have a motion from someone who would like to make the motion to go ahead? You make the motion to recommend approval of Article 1 in. And do we have a second?
Oh.
All right, so we have the motion is to recommend approval of Article 1 as submitted in the amount of $16,389 and change, which will be included in the actual number. And the funding sources from the FY26 operating budget. Any discussion on this motion? The motion has been made by John and seconded by Arnie. Not seeing any discussion, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Anyone abstaining? The motion carries unanimously. Next, we have Article 3, because Article 2 did not come before the committee. And it looked like Article 3 is an unpaid FY26 supplemental budget adjustment, and as I understand, there was no budget adjustment presented to us. So we can, I guess,
Can I take a shot?
go right ahead.
I move we refer to town meeting on this article.
That would be an appropriate motion.
Second.
Second, all right, the motion on Article 3 is to move to refer to town meeting without making any decision. There was nothing presented. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Our next is Article 5, which has been tabled, and we will continue at the next meeting. Article 6, the water main replacement, which we have Water main improvements, borrowing authorization in the amount of $2,225,000. The authorization is for that, and the funding source is to borrow it.
I'll move that we recommend approval of Article 6 for water main replacements for $2,225,000. That will be, source of funds will be borrowing.
Do I have a
Second.
All right, we have 2 seconds. Any discussion on this motion? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion to recommend approval, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. We'll go right along to next. Article 7, the annual roadway paving.
Joel, keep going.
Which is in the amount of $2,500,000, also a borrowing article. Thank you, Chet. Thank you, Chet.
Second.
Second, so the motion was made by Chet, seconded by Becca. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Raise your hands. All those opposed? Anyone abstaining? The motion carries unanimously. Next, Article 8, the purchase of the sidewalk tractor.
I'll make a motion that we put towards town meeting the purchase of a sidewalk tractor in the amount of $220,000 with money coming from the Capital Equipment Stabilization Fund.
I'll second that.
All right, the motion is to recommend approval of town meeting that the town purchase a sidewalk tractor in the amount of $220,000 with the funding source coming out of the Capital Equipment Stabilization Fund. And the motion's been made by Heidi and seconded by Joel. Any discussion on the motion? Question? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm wondering why we're rushing to buy this rather than waiting for more insurance to come in. I mean, we already have 2 that work, and I mean, with global warming and everything that's going on with the snow, I don't know why we're rushing out to buy another one. It's just they didn't look at any refurbished ones. They didn't look at any other quotes. I know it's a special piece of equipment. That's just my opinion. Is we should
That's
be waiting
fair.
for insurance.
Fair enough.
Anyone else have any comments, questions?
I just think on a specialized piece of equipment like this, buying used, you don't want that breaking down the middle of a snowstorm. And I think we should spend the money on that. If it's something like a dump truck or something like that, yeah, those are easy, no big deal. But this is so specialized that I think we should approve it.
Okay, thank you. Jonna?
I'm just retracting.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments, questions? Having seen any more, we're going to call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor of recommending that the town purchase a sidewalk tractor in the amount of $220,000 with the funding source coming from the Capital Equipment Stabilization Fund, say aye and raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Anyone abstaining? So we have Dawn abstained. Please note that. We have 2 noes. Jonna and Dennis voted against the motion. Don Dino abstained from the motion. Okay? And everybody else voted, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 13 of us here? 14 of us? Thank you. 11-2-1? Thank you. I should have counted earlier. Oh. Well, I have the sandals, so that does help, but I'm not sure I can bend over and do it all right now. Okay, next, Article 9, unforeseen repairs in FF&E Community Center. We have a motion to approve the spending of, I'm trying to read it on here, $350,000 for various unforeseen expenses for the community center, AKA the train station. And the funding source is a building stabilization. Do I?
So moved.
So we have a motion to recommend approval of that article of $350,000 with the funding source from building stabilization. We have a motion from Heidi and seconded by Becca. Any discussion? Chet?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a little heartburn with this because we paid a lot of money for consultant engineers to look at this building. If you got a building built in 1800, you know there's going to be bad wiring. You know there's going to be rot. And you know that the motor's going to be falling out. So all this should have been factored in when they did the original estimate.
Right.
But I understand that we have to have this done because we're putting a lot of money into it. And so that's my only problem. You know, we pay all these consultants a lot of money, and then we have to come back and ask for more money. And that's one of my problems. But
No.
I'm going to vote for it. But
I mean, I share that. I mean, I was a little bit, I mean, I can understand a lot of things not being surprised about, but I'm not any sort of expert in construction whatsoever, but I would have figured you would have to replace all of the wiring in a
the
you know,
lead pipes
building
in the
that's that
bathrooms,
old.
yeah.
And everything else. So I was a bit surprised at that, but I think at this point I agree. We probably have to vote for it. But Arnie and Jonna? Sure. Yeah. Right.
This is a procedural question.
Sure.
Can we vote that they don't use that contractor, or excuse me, say that architect again?
No, we cannot because we have absolutely no authority to designate which contractor the select board, and it's also involving the bidding process. So I can share your comments to the select board and the town manager going into the future, but we cannot condition this at all. Any others?
No, I think Tom had said yesterday that he was going after the E&O policy of, and he was looking into that.
Right.
So-
You were right. He did say that. Errors and omissions. So I would suggest that you keep asking the town manager about that and see the status of it. Having any other discussion, comments? Okay, I'll call for a vote on the motion, which is to recommend approval of Article 9, unforeseen repairs and FF&E at the community center in the amount of $350,000 with the funding source coming from building stabilization. All those in favor, say aye and raise your hands.
Aye.
All those opposed? And any abstentions? So we have a 13-1. That's fine. Okay. Okay. I guess we can do, we'll go, I guess, Article 10, which was on tonight's agenda, the repairs for the ADA compliance to town buildings.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval for ADA improvements of town buildings for an amount of $206,000 funded by the Building Stabilization Fund.
Second.
Thank you. We had a motion to recommend approval of Article 10, the building funding repairs, ADA compliance repairs to assorted town buildings in the amount of $206,000 with the funding source coming from building stabilization. We have a motion and a second. Any comments, discussion? Okay, call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
And raise your hand. All those opposed? Donna, you oppose it? Are you in favor of it? Yes. Okay, just wasn't sure what the vote was.
I was just looking at it, I thought I wrote down it was 350, and then we're writing 206.
I think there was an original amount that was higher from the Collins Commission report, but
Yes.
right, but they didn't. But the town is only doing some of those comment repairs, and they're only requesting
206.
206. That's okay. So all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Thank you. Unanimous. Okay. Article 11, purchase of the voting machines. Purchase 5 more voting machines.
I make a motion to recommend approval to town meeting for 5 voting machines for $40,000.
Okay, we have a motion that's
Second.
been made by Becca, seconded by Heidi, to purchase 5 voting machines in the amount of,
40.
it says 34,000 here?
Oh, I have 40,000 on.
34,000.
I thought it was 40.
All right, we'll vote it for 40, because if it's under. we're
If it comes
going.
under, yeah.
I think if you approve it for 40 and you
We're
buy it
covering
for
it,
less.
right, we're all set.
Yeah.
So we'll make it for $40,000, and it is coming out of a project
017.
01751A27D from the annual town meeting of 514 balance in that account. Article. Any discussion on the motion? Questions about the funding source, which is basically an old article that has money left over that's sitting under the old article, so they're going to use it to buy this. Dennis?
I just have a question. I don't know why they're not asking for 40. I'm just trying to understand why we're giving 40.
There's a couple of different pages.
Oh, so it's separate? Okay.
One of the documents that was emailed that has all of the prices listed out, it's $40,000 on there.
I'm also looking online and it says 34. So we have a couple different documents.
So in the abundance of caution of the $6,000, we'll recommend the higher amount.
Yeah, I understand. I don't have that 40,000 one.
I
So. Okay.
don't either. I have it we have it somewhere, but. I believe him. Okay, any other comments, questions, or discussion on the article? Although, call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion is to approve the article is in the amount of $40,000 coming from that funding source?
Yes, 40.
Okay. We have to do hands? Yep, if we can do hands on this as well. You got it? All right, anyone, all those opposed? 1. Anyone abstaining? Right, thank you. 3. Thank you. And thank you for, right. Okay, next article. Article 13.
Can I do 13 and 14 together?
We need motions to do them separately because what the recommendations, even though realistically they're all, we're going to have to vote on them separately, probably at town meeting. They'll probably, hopefully discuss them together.
Well, speaking as a member of the building committee, I will make the motion to recommend that we do the acquisition of Fano Drive and the 3 lots 76-007, 76-008, 76-009 for $0.
Second.
Second, third.
Okay, so we have the motion to recommend approval of the acquisition of Fano Drive and the 3 lots that are listed for the cost of $0 with the understanding that it's conditioned on the approval as well of the next article. All those, any discussion on this? Seeing any good, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand so we can make sure. All those opposed? Any abstentions? I'd say 14-0. Thank you. Moving on to the next article, Article 14, the disposition of land, a portion of Assessor's Lot 76-147. Need a motion to recommend
I'm not
approval.
sure what the motion would be here.
I think we're recommending approval that we dispose of the land.
Is that what it is?
Hold on a second.
I think the motion is the conveyance of land to the owner of Fano Drive.
Right, let me, I have the, wait a second.
Oh, it was written in the,
It should be in the.
All right, so the motion is to recommend, the motion would be is to recommend approval of the conveyance of the land in question to the owner of Fano Drive.
That would be the motion I was just going to make.
Thank you. So Joel has made that motion,
Second.
and Heidi has seconded that motion.
Been thinking about it for 2 days.
So any discussion on this motion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hands. All those opposed? Is there any opposed? No. Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay. Article 15, which is the demolition of the State Theater, which calls for an amount, $1 million appropriation coming from the Building Stabilization Fund. So I would like a motion to recommend approval of Article 15 to spend $1 million on the demolition of the State Theater, with the funding source being the Building Stabilization account.
So moved.
So we have a motion from Heidi,
Second.
seconded by Becca. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Okay. Jonna, then Joel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just feel it's stupid and not wise to take $1 million and put it on the back of someone who hasn't spent the money to upgrade it anyway. I just think it's, if we think we're going to get it back and to put a lien on, it's just ludicrous. It doesn't make any sense at all. And I know we don't want to see that hole like forever and ever and ever, but you don't do something stupid just to remedy the situation.
Thank you. Joel?
I actually agree with John on this one a bit, but my real concern is, and I wasn't here yesterday, so maybe you can answer the question, how are they justifying using money from the Building Stabilization Fund on a building that the town doesn't own?
That is an extremely good question.
In that regard, I will vote against this.
Go right ahead, Dawn.
Just to answer your question, I believe that Mr. Coulter had brought up the fact that he was using this as leverage to get the other person to do what they needed to do, and he didn't intend on spending it. Not that I'm trying to put words, just because you said you weren't here, and that's what I believe he said.
Interesting thing to say in a public meeting, but okay.
Well, I think the building is condemned.
I understand
It
that.
is, I think there are two issues here. One is the use of it, the article itself is to, ideally, by following through, hopes that the owner of the property will take care of the business himself. Historically, the owner of this property does not communicate with anyone in the town. There's been lots of outreach to him, and the first thing he's done was, since this article was prepared, because according to the town manager, if the town does it, we pay prevailing wage and we put a lien on his property. And since he does want to sell it, we would be the top, so our money would come right at closing back to the town. So that's hoping that he will get less money. He will have to pay less money to do it than he will have to pay the town to do it. That is the hope. I guess there's also the question that you brought up is, why is the Building Stabilization Fund the appropriate source for this expenditure?
I agree. I would have thought that this probably would have been something out of free cash, perhaps, or something else, but the Building Stabilization Fund is very clear that that's to be spent on buildings that are actually owned by the town of Stoughton.
I think that's
In
an
that
excellent
regard,
point.
I feel with that, now, if this goes before town meeting and somebody does a amendment to the article saying that the source of funding will be from something else, then fine. But right now, I don't see that. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I don't think that if we do this, it may put us in a position of liability, so I would rather not recommend it.
Point of information. All articles have been reviewed by town council.
Thank you.
I don't care.
Okay, we have a motion.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'll second that.
I think that's fair since we're coming back. We're going to have we have a motion to table this discussion of this article until October 8th. At that point, which has been seconded at that point, hopefully we'll have a much clearer explanation of the funding source. So I need to take a vote on the motion to table.
I agree with that.
All those in favor of the motion to table, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? 1,
2.
2. Okay. So it's 12 to 2 in favor of the motion to table. We will discuss this. We will discuss this on October 8th.
Hopefully, we'll just have further information.
Right. Hopefully, we'll have a funding source that makes sense or an explanation for the question that was raised, and we can take a vote and go from there. Okay. Article 16 is being tabled. We haven't finished that public hearing yet. Article 17, a motion to accept the donations of the 5 parcels of land off of Mill Street.
I make a motion to recommend we approve the disposition of land, right?
Approving the acceptance of the land.
of 5 parcels of land off Mill Street.
Right. The motion is to recommend approval of the acceptance of the donation of 5 parcels of land off of Mill Street as specified in.
I'll second that.
So it was made by Becca and seconded by Joel. Any discussion on this article? All those in favor of the motion?
Did Jonah have a question?
Oh,
Okay.
are you sure? And no, thank you, because sometimes
Yep.
I know it's hard, I don't always see. Did you have any? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye and raise your hands.
All right.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? So the motion carries 13 to 1.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all right. We have all been at one vote.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move to Article 18. I have a motion to recommend approval of the Article 18 of Historic Foundation and Stonewall Preservation Project in the amount of, was it
$115,000.
$115,000, funding source coming from the CPC Historical.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion made by Joel, seconded by Heidi to recommend approval of Article 18 to appropriate $115,000 to do work at the Historic Foundation and Stonewall Preservation at Bird Street, with the funding source being the CPC fund. Any questions, discussion? Dennis?
I just have a question. It says on the far right, it says $115,001. Is that material? I know some things.
I think, I see that. I think at this case, we could, if you really want to table it, we can table it to get clarification, but if they go over by $1, then they'll have to find the funding source someplace else.
So do we make a motion to approve a transfer of $115,001?
If you would like to amend and do that, we can do that. The motion
We
right
did
now
the
is
one
for.
for 40,000, and
Well-
and I know it's only $1, so.
Right. If you would like to do that, we can do that.
Sure.
All right, so we want,
that motion.
you want to amend the motion on the floor to
Add $1
add $1 to the amount, so it's $115,001. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. So the motion as amended, will the maker of the motion accept it? Or do we want to take a vote on the motion, on the amendment, and then the motion?
Joel, will you accept the amended motion?
Oh, sure.
All right, so the motion as amended and accepted is to recommend approval of the expenditures of funds in the amount of $115,001 for the Historic Foundation at Bird Street, with the funding source coming from the CPC budget. And on that motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Raise your hand so we can count. All right. All those opposed? You two opposed? It's fine, you are. I just want to make sure we count it
Three
right.
opposed.
3? So- I don't think it matters. The motion was already carried, so we're not going to go back and revote it. And I don't think we're not necessarily recording how everybody voted. We're just, yeah. No, motions, we're not going to reopen it. I think right now, I'm not going to bother figuring it out. That could change in the future. All right, so the motion,
Well, I'd like to get a correct count on that if we could.
so we have 3
We have three
no,
noes.
11 yes, no abstentions.
Okay.
11, 3, and 1 is 3. 11, 3, and 0 is 14.
Thank you, sorry.
Thank you. All right, Article 19. We want to recommend approval of the motion to rescind that unauthorized, that borrowing and for the CPC borrowing.
I think we have a number for that.
Is it
118,000.
I don't have anything.
118,000? To rescind an amount of 118,000 from the CPC?
So moved.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded, made by Becca, seconded by Chet, to approve the motion to rescind borrowing from the CPC in the amount of $118,000. All those in favor, say aye, raise your hands. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, and then Article 20 was also continued. It will be continued and discussed on October 8th. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate you staying that extra half an hour to do the votes because it lets me start putting them together.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
So
or
we have a
to-
motion to adjourn. All right, we have a motion to adjourn and a seconded. All those in favor, which looks like
Aye.
it's pretty unanimous. Aye. The meeting's adjourned. I'll see everyone on Wednesday, October 8th at 7.
Thank you.